Welcome to The Topic, where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, and our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. We are here live every Tuesday when HCC is in session. We're live at 1 o'clock. We're glad to have you with us on Facebook and YouTube. You can also catch the rebroadcast of our show on HCC TV, and you can find us across social media. Look under Houston Community College District. As the COVID pandemic enters a new phase, we're all starting to look back at lessons we've learned and think about what innovations we can apply to this new normal we're somewhat living in. In this edition of The Topic, we're looking at HCC's library services. First up on the show, we're joined now by Executive Director Mick Stafford. Mick, good to see you again. Thanks for being here on the show.
It's great to be here again. It was a while ago, I think real early on the pandemic.
You were, yeah, you were on during then. And then we also had you on a good while ago when the show was simply a 5-minute mini show. So it's good to have you back. You're a veteran on the show now. Let's talk about some of the things that the library was doing prior to the pandemic that unknowingly prepared us for going into remote service.
Sure. So we had a lot of online services and always have. Libraries have been known for that for years, shared online services, our databases, all that kind of stuff. HCC, just prior to the pandemic, we started a webinar series, which Rumela is going to talk about a little later in this show. And we started a Teams site. And I think the Teams site was one of the biggies. We're all doing Teams now, it's ubiquitous. But when we started doing it, we had slowly started shifting our meetings and our communications to almost purely online. We had stopped kind of meeting face to face even before the pandemic. And I think it allowed us to have conversations early on and how to react. But really, the libraries have thrived in an online environment before the pandemic. We have computers in our libraries, so that kind of support we were always there. I think adding webinars and really just having a great understanding of who we are made it a little bit easier when the pandemic came for us. A lot of difficulties, but that's kind of where we were kind of ready. We just never knew how ready we were.
What was it like using Teams? Because quite honestly, I didn't log into Teams before we went into lockdown, and Zoom was a brand new thing. I think I read an article in 2020 about Zoom, and they had maybe tens of thousands of subscribers before the lockdown. Then they, virtually within a couple of months, they went to tens of millions, But did you have a hard time getting people to interact in Teams when that first, before we had the pandemic?
Sure. Well, so really we kind of, as far as a meeting platform, we might have actually been using WebEx a little bit more, and people were using their personal rooms. And when they had, we have a lot of committees in the library, so we always kind of communicated that way. When Teams came, though, one of the first things that Daniel Dilla did, who kind of set up our teams, our former faculty senate president and public services librarian, he really worked hard to just get all the full-timers and all the part-timers being on the team. So really, it wasn't hard to get people to kind of buy into it. Although once I think I had one of the first staff meetings, all staff meetings, to kind of communicate where we were at real early on in the pandemic. I think people would go, well, if I'm going to be a part of this, I better be a part of that team. And when they realized that was the way we were going to communicate, and then obviously they probably were going, wow, well, now everyone's going to communicate this way, so it's good.
Well, when before the pandemic hit, my main machine at work was, because I didn't do any technical work, editing on my computer. It was an old Windows, it wasn't even a laptop. I had a laptop, hardly ever used it. Then we went into shutdown. I didn't even have a camera or microphone on my computer at work. Now it's, we all have it. The changes made during the pandemic. What are some of the changes that you guys made during the pandemic?
Well, obviously, we had a lot of it. We had to participate in what the college was doing. The college had to get a lot of technology into a lot of people's hands so that they could communicate. The laptop obviously was the game changer, getting laptops into the hands of the staff members who didn't have them, because that automatically gave them the webcam, the VPN, all the things that they needed. And that became a challenge. Everyone went through it, kind of setting up the remote work agreements, all that kind of stuff was a lot of front end hard work to do. But once again, since we are already communicating this way, I think that it helped our staff move pretty quickly, I think, into where we could work as a team, no pun intended. and then we kind of just moved on from there. And we are still, like I said, using other platforms, but Teams was that internal tool that we used.
So we're back in the buildings. We've got students on campuses once again, but it still seems most of our students are taking their classes online. Where are we now with library services? Obviously, we're in a new era. You're doing a lot online. Will that remain the same? Will all your services still be available to what you could get online before during the pandemic?
Sure. Yeah, definitely so. I think what happened is that, before the pandemic, we quickly identified what pieces we had. And all these different things, and really the balancing and juggling act is using a lot of the same pieces we have, just making them as quickly as possible, adapting to whatever modalities are out there, whatever teaching modalities we have. If classes aren't on session, or we, for whatever reason, had to go remote again, we were pretty ready to make shifts. But now, the funny thing is that the bigger challenge seems for us to be 2021 over 2020, because now we're having to reevaluate what we can do and what we can offer both face-to-face and online, because most of really all of our locations are open again.
You did a massive survey. What did you learn about that through the first survey of resources in about 10 years?
Well, so that's we don't know anything yet because our survey is going on right now.
Okay.
I just kind of wanted to highlight the fact that we haven't done a survey for 10 years. And it's going to be interesting. It would have been really interesting if we had a survey just prior to the pandemic and one just after. But you know what? It's still going to be kind of interesting to see what the students, faculty, staff, and even some of our community members say when they open the survey and take the survey, and either confirm some of the things that we thought were going well, and then really making those tweaks again, maybe even losing a few services and adding a few that the students find beneficial to them. So we're excited. It's been a long time coming to have a survey, and we're glad we're getting to do it just as we come out of the pandemic.
We're going to have a link to that survey in our social media post after the show, and we'll also put it on screen for our viewers at home. How long will this survey be going on again, Mick?
Sure. We're going to keep a link up on the library's website for about 2 weeks. The mailing has already been done. So we mailed about 10,000 students, all the faculty and staff, as a typical campaign on a big survey. So shout out to communications for getting us through that. And we'll start reviewing the survey results probably not too long after spring break.
Okay. We'll look forward to hearing those results as well. We'll have some links in our social media post and how you can get a hold of the library and the survey as well, so you can participate. Mick Stafford, thanks for being here on the show. Always good to see you, and continued success with library services.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll hear about creating a reading culture here at HCC. The topic returns in 60 seconds.
Sometimes what you need just shows up. Houston Community College has your back, whether you're knocking out some basics or upping your game for a better job. Enroll today for spring classes and frame your future with HCC.
For more than a year, we have kept you informed with more than 500 remote episodes. But now we're back, bigger and better, with more news and more guests. Join us live every weekday at 10 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and on HCC TV at noon and 5 p.m. You can watch from anywhere. We go where you go.
Welcome back to The Topic. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. We're usually here every Tuesday when HCC is in session. We won't be here next week because we're on spring breaks. Keep that in mind. You can always watch the rebroadcast of our show on HCC TV. And do us a favor, go into social media, find us as Houston Community College District. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can become a subscriber. It is free, of course, and you can get all of our programming notifications when shows like this are posted. We're talking about innovations at HCC's libraries. One of the lessons of the pandemic was just how closely connected we are here in the U.S. to other nations. Cynthia Belmar, Northwest College Library Director, joins us to discuss Reading Culture, a program designed to promote an appreciation and understanding of world cultures. Good afternoon, Cynthia.
Good afternoon. It's really nice to be here and have the chance to talk about reading cultures. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. I know we've been promoting your current event or a current book that you guys are talking about, which on Up to the Minute in the morning. Maybe you can tell us, though, a bit about Reading Culture and how you got started with it.
So in 2013, Dr. Bragdon and I, an anthropology professor, wrote a grant to the NEH for a program they had called Bridging Cultures. And I think it's and we loved it so much. It was reading books, having a scholar lecture, talking about the issues in the book, getting an understanding of other people's, and we wanted it to continue. So I think it's really terrific that since 2013, this collaborative group of people have been able to continue this initiative.
And tell us a bit more about that initiative and how your work continued during the pandemic.
So basically, we pick a book in a country each semester, and we try to take into account the fact that this is a pretty international city and we have an international student body, and we try to pick books or countries that are relevant to whatever is going on in the world. And we read a book. We have events and lectures. We had all throughout the semester related to the book and the country.
And tell us about the current book you're reading, because I know we've mentioned it in the morning.
We're reading I Am Malala, the phenomenal story about the youngest person ever to win the Nobel Peace Prize, and the country we're looking at is Pakistan.
Okay. During the pandemic, did you continue virtually? How did it work?
We did. We've been trying to expand the program since it started, and this was sort of an opportunity to really make it happen by having everything be online. And it's been a challenge, honestly, but everybody just kind of steps up and helps out. There've been some terrific librarians involved that help with a lot of the back end of the online Canvas class and the LibGuide that goes with the series.
The students now, do they get a chance to do online and in person, or how is that working now that we can return to campus?
Our main events are all online so that they're available to anyone throughout the district that would like to participate. Some of the discussions we've tried to see if we could incorporate a few in person this semester, but we're still doing baby steps toward going back in person.
And you also have you're collaborating with Life Hacking 101. What is that collaboration about?
So that's an entirely different program that we started to when there was a NSF grant, and we wanted to support the grant, and it's looking at the essential skills we know that students need that they don't necessarily learn in school, but they need to know. And so that's a collaboration the library has with Student Life and Career Services, and we run a series, and we've been doing it for several years now. Every Tuesday at noon, we have different people come and talk about something that we have heard from our community of faculty and students that students need help with.
What are some of the unique things that you've talked about in life hacking?
Well, we had a wonderful presentation by Dr. Coladoya to kick off the series. We always hear students don't know how to read for content, and that was absolutely terrific. Today, the series was about, you've read it in the news. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, with one of our government professors speaking. We'd read about students at Rice who have training in and how to in etiquette, that's sort of a big deal. So we brought etiquette people in to talk to our students on, what are good table manners, writing thank you notes, because some things that seem obvious aren't obvious to everybody.
Would tell us, I understand there's some type of scholarship opportunities that are available. So tell us about that and how it works into your program.
So that's not part of life hacking, but Reading Culture has had a scholarship opportunity. And every semester we award a $1,000 scholarship and two $500 scholarships. And students we think the whole process of the scholarship is valuable for students, as well as the end result. They might get a scholarship, but they have to attend a certain number of events. They have to write an essay or do a creative response. So we know that they've really engaged with the book, that they've developed, a book is a way you can get into somebody else's head. We want to build that empathy and understanding. And
you had mentioned that this semester you're focusing on Pakistan with the Malala book. What other countries have you focused on in the past recent years?
So prior to the pandemic, we did Venezuela, and that was kind of really wonderful because we have such a strong community, especially out in Katy. And then we did Japan. We've done Syria. We started out the whole series with Colombia. We've done Burundi, South Africa, Bosnia Herzegovina. I mean, we've been all over the globe. We've learned a lot of stuff, all of us.
Do you incorporate, besides the book, any multimedia presentations during these events?
So we always kick off our series with a wonderful presentation by our geography professor, Brian Evans. And we record it and we have it on our website so students can view it and it's there. And he does a very engaging multimedia presentation. And at the end of his presentation, then usually Professor Miller Waters talks about the book and introduces the book and tries to get students and attendees hooked into reading the book.
Has the pandemic given you innovative ideas on how you want to do this for the future when we get past this semester, maybe into the next semester?
Well, honestly, this has been a challenge this semester just to get through, but it has kind of opened up the possibilities. We've been wanting to scale it up, and we have to a certain degree, but the pandemic has made us really aware of the possibilities that we can do that.
If someone wants to get involved, where would they go on the website to find you? And is there a cost associated with it?
There is no cost. And in fact, we've had free books for students who want to participate. They need to just go to the library and ask for them. I'm not sure how many are still left, but if they can check and see. We have from the library homepage, you can link to the LibGuide on reading culture, and all the information is there. We encourage students to join the Canvas class associated with this. That's about it.
We'll put a link in our social media post after the show where they can find Reading Culture. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it, Cynthia, for you joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll learn how to make the most of our online resources. Stay tuned. The topic's back in 60 seconds.
Sometimes what you need just shows up. Houston Community College has your back, whether you're knocking out some basics or upping your game for a better job. Enroll today for spring classes and frame your future with HCC.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Things could be stranger, but I don't know how. I'm going through changes, through all of the strangeness. I'm going through changes now.
Welcome back to The Topic. I'm Todd Duplantis. Thanks for watching us on Facebook and YouTube. We're live this afternoon, and you can watch our rebroadcast on HCC TV. Check your cable providers for information on where to find us. Look for us in social media as Houston Community College District. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And did you know you can download the audio versions of all of our programming as podcasts? You can do that at hccs.edu/podcasts. We're talking about innovations at HCC's libraries. During the pandemic, many students took classes from home for the very first time, and they had to do their research from home, also in many cases for the first time. Rumela Bose, Public Services Librarian, joins us to talk about how library students make the most of our online resources. Good afternoon, Rumela.
Good afternoon. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So we were hearing earlier in the program, Mick Stafford was telling us about these webinars. Let's start off with that. Tell us about, apparently you guys were doing these or starting these prior to March of 2020 when all of us did everything online.
Absolutely. The webinar series was actually started back in 2017, I believe fall 2017. And at that time, we were revisiting our face-to-face instruction, and we kind of sensed that, this is our opportunity to reach out to our thousands of online students, and kind of offer them some kind of live, synchronous, more comparable to our face-to-face session. So librarian Jennifer Stidham, she actually started and developed this webinar series with group of other librarians, and later more librarians joined in as facilitators to do the webinar series.
What was the reaction when you first launched the webinar series? Were you getting a lot of views? Were people interested prior to March of 2020?
So when we first started, of course, it was we started our exploration, or how the webinars will look like. And at that time, it was we are first wanted to reach out to our online students, but we opened to everybody, all HCC community. Even if you are not in HCC, you can just register and attend one of our webinars. So it slowly started getting momentum. But just before the pandemic, we really had some good attendance from the students. And at that time, we were using GoToWebinar because we needed an online platform which can track and and the completion mechanism. So that's why we started with GoToWebinar, and in 2019, we moved from GoToWebinar to WebEx. So at that time, we really didn't know that the pandemic is coming, and we were ready to have a smooth transition from our in-person to virtual modality.
And now we have various platforms we can use: Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, lots of them. What type of topics did you cover in the webinars?
So several different topics are currently offered throughout the semester, starting from different citation webinars in LA, Chicago. Then we have fake news, then how to evaluate your sources, how to find ebooks, how to find journal articles, how to find primary resources, plagiarism. But we also do some specialized, customized webinar. For example, art webinars, how to find art resources through our art databases, fashion archive, fake news, and science information literacy. So these are some of the specialized webinars we offer. And
I wanted to jump in. You keep bringing up fake news, and that's a term we first learned, I guess, during the Trump era when it all came about with the whole fake news thing. Is that really a problem that our students are dealing with now, is citing news sources that turn out to be fake news? Has that become a problem?
Absolutely. When we do this sessions, I have some one of the sessions I facilitate is fake news and science information literacy. And I when I talk about it, and we have students discussing about, like, how it is hard sometimes, especially since we are mostly online these days, to, like, evaluate different sources. It's hard for them to recognize, like, which one is fake, which one is real news. So I think these webinars has real value when we're like, when our students are taking these webinars.
Especially now more than ever, because you've got so many news sources. And I guess, looking from a student standpoint, who do you wind up believing in a lot of cases with all the information that's out there? Let me ask you this. We had webinars during the pandemic. What type of topics did you cover then?
So during of course, our regular ones that I mentioned, like that we usually offer, but we started offering, usually our webinars are 60 to 90 minutes long. But then we decided during the pandemic, like, let us offer some like 30 minutes one. For example, since the libraries were closed, we wanted to like have a quick tour of the HCC libraries online. So at least our students can see what are the different resources we have, through HCC libraries, or finding ebooks, because at that time, that were like our students were relying on heavily. Also, all HCC 9 libraries, we have 3D printers, and we have a little bit mini makerspace in some of the libraries. So we decided to offer some 3D printing webinars during the pandemic. So at least our students know these are like, the different resources we have in libraries.
You mentioned the 3D printers and maker spaces in the libraries. Are those widely used now that the libraries are back open in person?
Actually, so, we were for a long time wanted to have like, face-to-face 3D printing workshop, because that's where we were doing pre-pandemic. And we started having our 3D printing workshop back from February. And surprisingly, we have quite a few students, like, attended those workshops, and we are started getting requests to do 3D printing again, like, through HCC libraries. So we are very excited, to be back and offering those workshops.
Well, Rumela, we wish you the best of luck. It's continued success with the libraries. You guys certainly have a lot to offer. We will have, once again, some links in our social media post where you can go to get information on the library, especially the 3D printers. Those are pretty cool. Thanks for being here on the topic this afternoon. Remember, you can download all the audio versions of our programming at hccs.edu/podcast, and you can get audio versions. Follow us in social media. Look for us as Houston Community College District. We're off next week for spring break. Have a great spring break, and I'll see you when we return right here on The Topic.